Hi, everyone. Welcome to another First Impressions. I'm always so excited about this particular series and getting to learn about companies and getting a deeper dive. Today, we're going to be talking with Relevant Yield and talking about just the impressive amount of things that they do. I'm not going to be able to explain it any further. I need to have these gentlemen help me. So I'm joined by Petri and Ronnie, who are going to walk one through what the company does to getting into the products themselves. And I know I have questions. I know you guys have a lot to cover, so I let's not wait any further. Let's kind of dive in. Petri, I'm going to start with you and ask you if you could talk a little bit about Relevant Yield, a little bit about the company, and then we could dive in deeper.
Sounds good. Happy to do that. And don't worry, just sharing a couple slides for the beginning. So our company has been helping publishers a bit over 12 years already. Originally, we started offering services like consulting and operative services for publishers. But during last 4.5 years, we have been focusing mainly on our software development, and we are building our own SaaS solution for publishers and sales houses to run their processes more efficiently and obviously increase the sales. We only work for sales side, so we know the publisher side quite well, and we have extensive experience working with ad servers and SSPs and data management platforms and content management tools. So that is our background where we are coming, and at the moment we are already offering our software and services in 15 different countries and growing fast. So that's our company.
You just signed it up a new country, did you not? You just moved into another country, right?
Yes. I'm not sure if it's public yet, but it's Switzerland. Yeah, that is the newest country. Yeah.
I didn't mean to make breaking news out of this or so forth. So sorry, I didn't. I thought that had been made public. My apologies. Talk about so again, being sell side focused, SaaS, so forth. All of this is great. Can you talk a little bit about some of the responses that you've gotten from some of the publishers that you've worked with?
Happy to do that. So we did run a customer survey in June, so it's only like a few weeks old, and we were asking our customers feedback that what kind of value they feel that they are able to get out from our software Relevant Yield, and we are extremely excited and happy to hear and see that it really seems that we are able to deliver significant value for our customers. So all these statements, what we are seeing here, are real customer comments and customer feedback, what we have received. And this is what we want to do. We want to empower publishers. We want to make publishers more independent, give control in their hands, enable them to collect all important data, no matter if we are talking about like the revenue data collected through APIs from SSPs or ad servers, or capturing live data from their Prebid setup. And obviously the control is the important part. So we make our customers' life easier when they want to test new partners, implement new partners in their setup. So that's the value.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So let's start to dive in deeper. So again, this is all great feedback. How are you doing it? Where in the publisher monetization stack are you helping people? What does that look like?
Yeah, let's move forward. And like you noticed, we have also Ronnie. Ronnie is our Chief Product Officer and the man behind our development. So Ronnie can continue and tell a bit more about Relevant Yield.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Petri, and thanks, Rob. Yeah, we started out, as Petri mentioned, working a lot on the publisher side and trying to solve problems, both as a consultancy company and as a reseller company for other people's tech. And during that journey, it was obvious that we found a lot of ways to improve their life And that was really why we started building up our own SaaS solution as well. So I would like to take a step back first and talk a little bit about the vision and why we have the product to start with. I think that creates a good holistic environment before we go into the demo. So a little bit talking about the slide first. The first module we have is the API Insight module. It creates dashboards, reports, alarms, things like that, based on API data that we collect from ad servers, SSPs, analytics systems, and things like that. That was the first module we built, and the intention was basically to solve a lot of reporting, time-consuming stuff from loads of different systems, and have unified values and same currencies everywhere and things like that. So that brought the benefit of like a lot of time saving. Of course, when you build alarms on that, you also have some reaction, making the data work for you instead of just looking at codes. We also have a lot of Prebid setups out there, and we were working with third-party wrappers in the beginning. But we wanted to build our own solution, primarily because I think in the first version of wrappers, they were kind of blocked. So even though you didn't have to handle the code yourself as a publisher or on the publisher's page, you were kind of dependent on another support central instead. So you were still dependent. You couldn't do the changes yourself. When we built our wrapper, Header Bidder Manager, and our Header Bidder Analytics, which is the analytics tool that makes sure that everything works and monitor everything, we basically wanted to cover everything that Prebid offered, and we wanted to have the option to set values for everything that is possible in Prebid, and give that transparency and openness to the publisher. So it was about taking back control, to be honest with you. And I hope and think that is something that we really strive with the product now as well. So the product is quite wide in scope, and it has a lot of different options. But that's kind of like the intention and the vision behind it. Yes.
Yeah, so again, certainly pulling all that data in from many sources is one of the biggest issues publishers have. So I see that you're helping kind of aggregate and pull all of that together. But it's something where I think for a lot of publishers, they have different, levels of capabilities. Some are quite good at aggregating that data, but
Absolutely.
others perhaps are weaker on the development front. And then you have the analytics side and so forth. And so are you able to, is this all, I've got to go for all three things, or am I able to work through these three individual pieces or modules, if you put it that way?
No, that's an excellent question, Rob. And I think when we're working with different publishers and programmatic sales houses as well, they are on different levels, and they have different stacks in place already. So you don't have to buy all three modules. They can be bought independently, certainly. There's a natural, connection between the HB Manager and the HB Analytics, because it's like the steering wheel and the windscreen kind of. But you can, we do have clients who only work with the analytics, for instance, because they have their own Prebid setup that they want to continue to run. So that's not the problem. It might be a little bit of tweaking, of course, during the onboarding phase, so we catch the values correctly, but it's not a problem at all. In fact, one of the biggest publishers in Denmark is doing just that.
And so, well, that goes to really the question of who uses the actual platform. Is this just for, say, a programmatic team, a data team, C-suite, sale? Like who's using these tools and in what ways?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the publisher and depends what tools they have. But we have, again, one of the publishers that I work closely with in Denmark, their whole sales team is using the tool across different publisher houses. So they have limited access because due to competition rules in Denmark, the different sales team can't access the same data, so they can log into different sides of it and slice and dice the data so they don't see it. And they actually have a really good data warehouse themselves, but their own ad operations team struggle to get the data fast enough from their own data operation. So it's not either or, it's more complementary, at least for the bigger publishers, I would say. But sometimes they really switch it out. But I can show you this a little just about the data dashboard. You want to
I want to see everything. I think that me and my people, we want to see product. We want to see this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Where the meat is, right? Yeah, yeah.
Show us.
Talk is cheap. Sure, I will do that. Yeah. So the first thing you will see when you log in is, of course, your dashboard view. This is completely individualized, so different persons and different user roles would have different needs, right? If you're in ad operations, you would probably want something with performance-based, some general stuff, but also something where you can really dig into the meat, slice and dice, data on a really granular level. If you're working as a C-level management person, which Petri does, and to some extent me as well, you probably want something that is more about the revenues and revenue forecasting, maybe a breakdown per site, something like that. But that can all be customizable. And the API data is collected every day, but because the different SSPs and ad services system doesn't always bring the API data in so fast, it can't really be real time. You would get a lot of wonky data that wouldn't be completed until after 24 hours anyway. So the API data is collected once per day. But again, you have the option to trigger re-imports and things like that with your fingertips if you want to do it. The header bidder analytics data is a little bit different. That is real time, or as close as we can see it. So if you do a change in our wrapper, you would see the data changes within 10 seconds or something like that. And that, of course, makes it really powerful for alarms, especially technical alarms. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But the point here is that these different dashboards can be used by different user roles for different purposes in the system. And they, of course, have this general thing, but they are also very customizable. Again, like that's the vision of the product. We don't presume to know what you want. It's like you have to work the data out and set it up the way you want to. So it brings us in this case of just a simple dashboard with a couple of graphs. You can select if you want to have only tables or if you want the graphs in there. You can select how many, what dimensions you want to look on. And this is API data. So you have things like creative sizes, revenue types, open, direct, deal names, whatever. A lot of different data. And of course, a lot of different metrics. And you can filter out on every single dimensions you have there. So there's a lot to play around with and customize and build up your own dashboard widgets. But the dashboard widgets themselves can also be customizable. So for instance, you can set here, and I think here we really excel compared to a lot of other companies. Like you can select like how many graphs do you want on each row and really customize your stuff. And we do white label if you're a programmatic sales house. If you want your own logos, your own colors and things like that. So again, it's based on the idea that like we work with you and set it up the way you want. And that's important for big publishers. Yeah.
How long of a process does that usually take? I'm just kind of curious. I mean, again, I think you work with so many varying sizes. I'm sure that's big, but I would sit there and think one of the things that as an operations person is like the speed to start to see that once the data is starting to kind of flow in to show the value of that and so forth. So there's some thoughts there about how to get up to speed quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it really differs from module to module. Like if you just run with the header bidder analytics, it's like 1 or 2 weeks, maybe. It's more about, because the data is just, you need to put a script on the page. You need to have a mapping structure, what we call here publisher accounts. So you would take the IDs from the ad servers and the SSPs. You would bulk upload that into the system here, so you can see the placement names and everything like that. But that's quite easy. And once the data start pouring in, that's pretty much it. If you think about like more the wrapper, it really depends on the agility of the publisher's own team. But and same for the API data, because there is like some credentials that needs to be sent from the different SSPs and ad servers. But the short answer, 2 to 6 weeks. We have had stuff that takes 4 months as well. And we've had, I think one of the apps that we built, because we support everything in Prebid, so it's also, Prebid mobile, Prebid server and stuff like that. I think that was the record, was like 10 days, and then the app was like, but that was like, they were like super prepared. That was just like, boom, the data, and they covered everything in the SDKs. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's one of the things that I like about this, and just to the speed of that, is part of it is to start, as a publisher, to get your data together, to start to learn what you can learn, and then where you can go from there, right? It's hard to work through all of your requirements until you start actually starting to see the data and start coming up with your questions, right? It's almost kind of a part of the exploring of the data in an easy, accessible way that helps you start to create theories as to why someone's up, someone's down, why these things are changing, and so forth. Which again, Ron, if you want to talk to that, I was going to say, like, to me, that's why the alarms is kind of an interesting concept. But if you had something off what I just said, please.
Sure. I just want to say regarding the onboarding stuff, like we always have a technical scoping as well, because we need to understand like which SSPs are you working with, or demand sources, because we talk SSP, but it can really be any sort of like revenue per day source that you want to bring in here. It really doesn't matter for us, and we support both API and CSV imports, so we can be quite flexible. Of course, there are some. If you want to have a full complete set of data, then the sources you bring in needs to be able to deliver that. Of course, like advertisers, for instance, because we bring in advertisers and you can map them and compare them to your own CRM system and things like that. But if you have half of your SSPs can't provide that data, then you would of course have a natural hole in your data. But we're not stopping you from doing it. Just and regarding the alarms, I think that's also again very based on our flexibility. So anything you can report on here, I showed you just very quickly like the API data. I'll walk into the header bidder analytics data in a little bit of a while. Can also be put into an alarm. So if I go into alarms here and open up all the alarms, you can create a new API alarm here, for instance. I just select custom alarm. There are some presets, just like there are preset templates, of course. So I just go in and press a new API insight alarm here, custom alarm. There you go. And now I can, as you can see, we're back into the reporting module. So anything that can be reported on can also be built into an alarm. So you can get extremely detailed alarm. You can say something like, if the open RTB revenue drops on a particular SSP for a particular advertiser, ping. That's doable through the system. Of course, in a normal case, it would be more things like percentage revenue drops per placement and things like that. But it's extremely granular and it's fully customizable. So again, different user roles, different needs, and that's how it should be, I think.
What about one of the things I know a lot of publishers would like to do more about is to do multivariate testing to actually test these things. So again, alarms, first of all, that level of detail is amazing, right? But now I want to sit there and I've learned some things, or I think I've learned some things I want to test. What can I do with relevant yield? Absolutely.
I'll quickly jump into our header bidder, our live account. This is actually, so you can see my user account, and I can explain a little bit more about that, because we have more data for header bidder analytics than we do in the demo account. So just quickly, I'll give you a little bit of a flip here. So there we go. So this is my dashboard. This is how I work with the product, and I'm part of the management team, so I don't really work as an ad ops in relationship to this product, but I have like a general dashboard with some revenues, a forecasted revenue and the target. This is good for us in the C level to keep track of everything. But if I scroll down a little bit here, I also have something called header bidder analytics. So in the dashboard, you can have widgets both for the API data and for the header bidder analytics data. if I open this one, it will look very much the same. So it's easy if you learned one system, you have learned the other. There are overlaps, but there are things that you can get from the API that you cannot get from the header bidder analytics, and vice versa. So if I open this one and look a little bit about the dimensions, you can see that we have some standardized dimensions that are very similar to what we will get from the API. You have placements, you have sites, you have things like that. But we also have things called Prebid configuration, which would be something that would be monitored in a multivariate test. So when you set up a multivariate testing in our system, you basically take one of your configurations. So let's say that you have a configuration and you want to explore a little bit about timeouts in Prebid. When do I cut off? Then you can set up a normal configuration. You can create a couple of child configurations, attach different amount of traffic to them. And once you put it live, and of course change then the cutoff in the child configurations, maybe 3 different levels, something like that. Once you've done that, put it live, it takes about 10 seconds, then the data starts being generated, and it's automatically picked up here in the Prebid configuration values. It will also automatically be added as a keyword in GAM, which means that you can get a holistic understanding, not only what happens in Prebid and in relationship to Amazon, because we cover Amazon as well in a parallel bidding, but you can actually also see how does this be reflected in your GAM tool, if that's the ad server you use. We also support other ad servers as well, like Equative and Adform and stuff like that. So we're not only GAM. That's very important to highlight as well. 80%, 90% of our clients are using GAM, but we are completely neutral in the aspect. Right.
That's an important thing. I think more and more of a consideration every day. You mentioned the pre-bid configuration. Is there really anything within pre-bid that I'm not able to do? Is it a complete pre-bid implementation?
It's absolutely a complete Prebid implementation. I think if I'm crass and honest, our experience with like CTV and long-tail video, long-term videos and stuff like that, that's limited. We don't have a lot of publishers working with that. But we support everything that's in Prebid related to that. So we are definitely compliant to do it. But I will say that if we got a new client tomorrow, then there would be some exploration from us to do as well, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I think that is kind of like the name of the game in general. If you look at how Prebid mobile developed, and I think there's a lot of publishers who have struggled a lot with Prebid mobile. I think right now we are probably one of the best in the market for it, for sure. We have built up so much experience, but it takes a little bit of time, obviously. And Prebid is a fantastic framework, and everybody should comply to it. But once you actually start running things live, the interpretations within that framework can differ slightly. We see it especially with Outstream. That has been like also you almost need to go through SSP per SSP and see what they're actually returning and how they understand the framework, because it's messy. It really is. But yeah, that's.
Well, I think that's where a lot of publishers struggle. Like it's the framework. There are a lot of options. What are the best options? And if you don't have that development resource available to have someone that's actually what I'm hearing, right, is like, I can work with you with Prebid, TAM, all of those particular pieces in whatever ad server that I'm using, pull that data together, give me the insight so I can make business decisions, and then work with you in terms of like, am I configured correctly? I mean, it seems like there's an aspect that again, it raises the right questions, but then you're not only asking the questions, but you're getting the ability to answer them with some of the kind of configuration and so forth. You mentioned long tail publishers and so forth. What is the typical customer that you have? What are some of the what are some of the attributes you're looking for in a publisher that's going to is going to be a successful relevant yield client?
Yeah, I think in general in the market there's a lot of managed services, of course, where someone comes in with a SaaS solution, kind of like ours, but also do all the add-ops and support in that frame. We deliver a neutral platform. We expect the publishers to bring their own demand. We don't bring demand ourselves. But we, of course, have a really, really good customer success team that can help everybody out during this whole integration. And because we also have a programmatic sales network in Finland, we only work in Finland, I should say, because we don't want to end up in any competitions with our clients on the SaaS product. But it means that we have an extensive experience with running programmatic ourselves. And like I mentioned, it started out as our own internal tool, right? So there's a lot of support to get from and with people with a lot of experience as a customer success team. And normally the customer success account manager that you start with your onboarding and things like that, they would also continue with you. So they will know your setup, they will know your quirks, they will know. Nobody is the same, and certainly bigger publishers, they have their own special ways of doing things, and they want to do it that way because it's usually for a good reason. And again, customization, flexibility is important things for us. We're not just I don't think this is like the whole concept of plug and play when you reach a certain size as a publisher. It's a mythological beast, so to speak. I think. Yeah. And we embrace it.
If I,
Sure.
if I may jump in for a while,
Of course.
it's to give like a short answer for that. Typically, it's like the publishers who want to be independent, who want to have control in-house, stay on top of things, have their own SSP agreements, and obviously sales houses who are running bigger network, who have a lot of needs to scalable network management, optimization, building setups, and delivering reports. So those are, I would say, the most typical customers. Do you agree, Ronnie?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. You formulated it much more concise than I did. Thank you.
Well, I mean, in the US, obviously sales houses is not much of a thing, but there is an aspect of scale and working across publishers, and some of the controls you talked about, even just again, who gets access to what data and so forth, so often is not a part of a solution that I feel like that's something that, like, again, I can see myself wanting to understand things. And again, so again, feeding back some of what I'm hearing, right, is I'm going to be able to create reports for the C-suite. I'm going to have reports for my daily programmatic person who's going to dive into every detail. They're going to want alarms. They're going to want to do testing, right? Rolling up to reports so that you can get a holistic picture of your business, right? And so all of those things kind of create just this opportunity to really start to kind of move the business forward by having the tools. And it isn't just the reporting piece, it's the code as well. These things really kind of work well to sync together to create kind of a good solution. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think like if we touch a little bit on the wrapper, like this, how you would structure that one. As you can see right now, I'm in a publisher account. You have some websites or apps here. You have some placements. If I open up that one just quickly, you will see that we have some structures. Is it AMP? Is it Prebid mobile? And you can control a lot of things in here. You can control your floor prices. Works for both client side and server side. You can run reload functionalities from here, where you don't just reload, your GAM ad server placement, but you actually reload the full auction. Also, you have TAM in there, so you can really refresh the whole flow, right? And you can also control things like lazy loading and stuff here. So it's like an ad management platform more than a wrapper, I would say. I think it started out as more like a wrapper, but today it's just wider, especially with TAM being in there and a lot of controls being, makes sense to put in at the initialization of the auction rather than down the funnel.
Again, I think that's the kind of level people need more than a wrapper, right? At this point, that's table stakes. It's all of these elements to sit there and really help you kind of control your business above and beyond kind of the wrapper part of it. I'm going to have some questions about what's next to to business model and whatever, but I want to make sure before we go any further, have I missed any questions? Was there anything, Ronnie or Petri, that you sat there and said, Rob, how could you be on this call and not ask that question? Is there anything I've missed?
No, I think you've done great. But what about you, Petri? Do you have anything?
Yeah, the beginning of the recording was so exciting that I basically forgot half of what I was thinking to say. But one like an important thing for us is that, and what is important for customers is that we are independent. We don't have any our own demand sources to optimize. So only thing what we are aiming for is our customer success. So that is one thing we want to highlight, and we have been. And maybe another reason why we have been quite successful with market leading publishers is that we are capable to offer also like a tailored solution. So customize metrics, what they might want to monitor, and offer custom development if needed. So yeah, that is another important topic.
No, I think that is something a lot of publishers are thinking about now, just in terms of who they work with, how they work with them, and who's really working to their benefit, which really kind of leads to the pricing model. Can you kind of talk through how I would be able to work? How would that? What's the, not pricing, but pricing model? What are we looking at?
I'm leaving this one to you, Petri.
I'm happy to take this one. So it's SaaS. We are not taking revenue share. So that is the important thing to know. We do have for the header bidding side, header bidding manager, and the real-time analytics, it's volume-based. And for API reporting, it's more fixed based on the size of the network and amount of connections. And we have already built like all needed connections with pretty much all SSPs, ad servers, native advertiser providers, whatever there is. But we are also adding connections all the time when we are opening new countries. And so, yeah. But yeah, it's SaaS-based model.
Yeah, and I think it's just a quick comment. From a vision perspective, I think we built a product where you should be able to optimize yourself and handle a lot yourself. And then we don't want to capitalize on your work. So a rev share model for us wouldn't be fair. Our cost is related to support and the development and the technical, of course, storage of data and things like that, server handling. So that's why we try that's why we do it on volumes based on like requests rather than a rev share. Because if you optimize well, then they should, of course, keep all the revenue that you manage to make through the tool.
I think that framing, that little phrasing right there, Ronnie, is one of the best articulations for the SaaS model that I've honestly have heard. And that it just, because it really is truly a thing that like publishers have gotten addicted to rev share, as if all the risk is there, but you get, but you also want all the reward, right? So I really feel like that was really, I just love the way you said that. I'm just going to point that out, that there was something about like capitalizing on your work, I think kind of goes to something that should be a part of everyone's decision process when they're thinking about partners and so forth, is who gets the reward, who gets the gains, and who's doing the work to get that. So I think that's a great thing. So listen, I am sure based on everything that you walk through, that we're going to have publishers who are interested in learning more, whether it be a demo or just starting to understand again where you might fit into their world. What's the next step for a publisher that's interested in engaging with you further?
Hey, please do not hesitate to reach out us. So you can contact Ronnie or me or Olli or whoever from our team anytime you would like to do that. So we are here to help you and happy to provide more information. And obviously we will be participating actively in industry events like we have done before also in the future. So happy to arrange a meeting and offer a tailored demo session for everyone who is interested to hear more.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, thank you guys. It was great to go through this. I definitely learned some stuff. Again, I even just hit on, I love the certain framing that you are about what your product is, and that independence and transparency. I think those are key elements that people should be looking for in partners. And thank you for the chat. I really enjoyed getting this kind of run through and seeing some actual product and getting the full picture. So thank you, gentlemen, and thanks to everyone that's watching.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And thanks, Rob.